anger is such an incredibly important emotion and tool in the healing process from relational trauma. So I'm going to speak a little bit about how anger shows up in the healing process and why this is so incredibly important to move along in the healing process. So I'm going to start with the reality that we've talked in previous videos, talks about how for many of us who are healing from relational trauma, how common it is for us to experience that disconnection from our physical bodies. We don't know when we're experiencing pain. We aren't able to understand or to pick up when our body is trying to send us signals about something, whether it's danger or anxiety, or that somebody sitting across from us is just not, that they don't feel entirely safe to us. So we do the work that we need to do to kind of start getting connected to our physical bodies again. Same thing with emotions. So many of us who experience relational trauma, we completely shut down from our emotions, okay? And so, or we just have a very small array or range of emotions. And so it's difficult as we're starting the healing process, we begin to recognize, I don't even know what I'm feeling. My feelings confuse me, they overwhelm me. I don't know how to name my emotions. We do a lot of work about just learning how to identify what am I feeling, and also identifying that multiple emotions occur at one time. I can feel incredibly excited and terrified at the same time. I can feel deeply sad and also relieved at the same time. It's more common, I would say, to experience multiple emotions at once than just one singular emotion. So we do that work kind of going into the EMDR. We take a couple months getting connected to our physical bodies, really understanding our emotions, befriending our emotions, learning to listen to these things, okay? What I usually see is anger first really shows up as we're reprocessing with EMDR. And I think for a lot of folks, as this happens in an EMDR reprocessing session, and it can come on pretty strong, first of all, they don't know what it is, and I think it can really scare folks. Why am I feeling anger? I shouldn't be feeling anger. Because many of us have been taught in our families and in our societies, and this is both men and women, that expressing anger is not okay. Like, that is not pleasing to others. It makes others uncomfortable. And so we've been taught anger is not okay. It's something that needs to be avoided, and it's unsafe, okay? So the role of the therapist here in that EMDR session, when that anger first starts to surface, and this may be the first time folks have felt anger in decades, is for that therapist to allow them permission to feel and experience that anger, to normalize it, to let them know it is so incredibly important for them to be able to allow themselves to feel it, that it's safe to feel it in here, and that they have every single right to be angry. And let's give ourselves permission to feel this and to experience this. This is so incredibly important to beginning to develop a relationship with this emotion, listening to the anger, honoring the anger, understanding, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense why this anger is here. And to again, develop a relationship with that emotion. We're not trying to get rid of it. We're not trying to suppress it. We're not even trying to release it right away. We are letting ourselves experience it, because anger has been there for so long, for many of us decades, and we've had to let it out and feel it, and we're finally doing it. So we don't want to rush the process. The other thing that happens is, in the EMDR session, when this anger is surfacing, it is so important for us to kind of physically feel the anger and then to kind of release it. So what this looks like in my office is, folks who work with me know this, I have tennis balls people can squeeze. I have a towel people can wring out with their hands really, really tight. And just really holding that anger and then releasing it. And it's so important to notice how it feels as you're wringing it, but also how it feels as you release it, to really make that connection about that relief that we might experience after we've allowed ourselves to feel and embody the anger, how it feels to release it. That's so important. I have people screaming pillows. Like, I have people screaming at the top of their lungs in pillows in my office. letting yourselves feel it, let that scream out, and then we notice, what are you feeling in your body after you scream? Oh, it just feels like a weight's been lifted. It feels so good. They might just feel a deep exhaustion. Often what times, and this is kind of a warning here, oftentimes people will just sob. Like it's just a deep release, just crying, allowing yourself to cry in the office, letting yourself collapse into tears. That is so important also, to allow that and to normalize that and to give folks permission to feel that, okay? Because for many of us, underneath this anger that we've never been able to allow ourselves to feel, because we've been told it's not okay to do that, or because maybe we got physically abused when we expressed anger, maybe we got shamed or bullied or made fun of, or whatever, when we expressed anger to our caregivers or by others. We were taught that we couldn't feel it. And so we're just allowing ourselves to feel this now, okay? And we're normalizing it. It's again, we're reparenting, right? So we're letting that kid finally be able to express that anger, that totally appropriate anger that they had about what was happening to them, okay? We're letting that kid experience this. And folks, and again, like underneath this is often a deep sadness, okay? So we talked a lot about grief and sadness before. This is going to show up here probably, and that's okay. That really needs to happen. Again, these are layers. So underneath that anger is often just another layer of this grief and sadness about what we lost, about what we experienced. And that's okay. Like we're just going to keep doing this as much as we need to, okay? And the other thing that I'm going to say here is that, and I'm going to say this like with women in particular. So I think a lot of us have been taught that irritability is a sign that we're about to get our periods, essentially. Oh, it's just the hormones. I'm just irritable. And here's the thing with that, is that I would really encourage women to pay attention to their irritability and to, instead of seeing it as an annoyance or as just blowing it off as hormones, is it that, or is there a part of you that's kind of pissed? And are you feeling like you are constantly being needed and used? And, what's happening there? I would just really encourage women in particular to get curious about their irritability instead of brushing it off as hormones. I think it's so valuable and so important. And it's so incredibly common to see that. And it's usually an indication that there's something underneath there, very appropriate, very healthy anger that might be there. There might be a part there that's kind of trying to make its way out. And so let's be curious about it instead of just shutting it down or medicating it right away, or whatever we might do, okay? I hope you found this helpful. Anger is sacred, period. Anger is sacred. There are healthy ways to express our anger. There are healthy ways to feel our anger. There are healthy ways to embody our anger. There are healthy ways to release our anger. There are unhealthy and very destructive ways to do this as well. That is not what I am promoting here. I am promoting kind of more of a sacred work, an embodied work, not where we take our anger out on other people, but we do the work internally, often with a therapist or a healing worker, to understand and to develop a new kind of relationship with our anger. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for coming on here, being willing to learn, expand, and grow.